Here at Ohio State, you have the choice to take an asynchronous class. You would be receiving the same information and material you usually would with a normal class, but the structure and the schedule is all up to you, basically, besides normal deadlines. And this can be really great for allowing the college student to feel more free and flexible, but it can be really hard to understand or recognize the right strategies and techniques to help navigate through a semester of an asynchronous class. Luckily, there's a lot of things that can help you with that. Now, for asynchronous classes, you are given deadlines for assignments and projects that you would with a synchronous class, but it can be really hard in the day to day, the micromanaging level of it to understand exactly what you need to be doing to make academic progress in this class. And what we recommend is to keep your plans as specific as possible so they seem less daunting and easier to attain. For example, asking yourself simple questions like, when will I start studying? How long will it take to read this chapter? Where exactly am I going to be studying? And when you're in this environment, what are the potential distractions that could halt academic momentum? The important thing with these plans is to utilize the strength of an asynchronous class. It's there for a reason. It's there for flexibility. So if a certain plan set doesn't go your way, you don't feel like it meshes really with how you want to study, you can alter it week by week, day by day. It really helps you merge both the characteristic of the asynchronous class and fit it best to how you want to study and how you don't want to study. You're checking in with yourself after every day, after every time you're studying, and you're saying, ultimately, is this getting me to where I need to go? And if not, boom, you can get more plans, keeping them specific. Finally, with specific plans, we want to focus on what we call mastery experiences. Because you're in an asynchronous class, you're responsible for tracking your progress ultimately. So it's so important to recognize the wins you have throughout a day, throughout a semester, and anything in between. And these wins can be both big, macro, big project, big paper, that whole deal, or they can be small, little goals, stacking those little goals onto each other. And focusing and recognizing and celebrating those wins really gets the ball rolling for creating academic momentum, which is huge, especially in an asynchronous class. The next strategy to help in an asynchronous class is what we here at the DLC call accountability buddies. Ultimately, they are having friends and classmates that you can study with and kind of maintain and keep expectations up with each other. In an asynchronous class, it might be hard to have friends or have pre-existing friends uh, going into that class, but this could be a really great opportunity to reach out socially and kind of create a community within an asynchronous structure. And you can find study times, really use that flexibility as we've been talking about, and help each other visualize progress, visualize those expectations. Next, it's really important to have a structure for how you're going to do your study sessions in an asynchronous class. And given the loose structure of an asynchronous class already, um, distributing your study sessions could be really, really beneficial for maintaining that flexibility, but also making sure that you are giving enough time and effort into this class that could, in some cases, kind of fall to the wayside instead of your structure classes, your synchronous classes. Ultimately, what we want to do is chunk our study times. So you're taking a 3-hour study session and you're breaking it down into 6 30-minute sessions. And you can do them all back to back to back with varying appropriate breaks. But that kind of structure of 30 minutes at a time allows you to do it at different points of the day. Maybe you have a class at 10 a.m., but you have free time at 9 a.m. You can study for 30 minutes, go to your class, come back, and then do another 30 minutes. It really maintains and maximizes that flexibility in your schedule. Another big thing with asynchronous and even all online classes is making sure that the place you're studying and the place that you're attending lectures in is maximized for studying. Like we said earlier, we want to make sure that we're aware of our distractions and to alter our environment to best fit those distractions, to minimize those distractions, and even creating a little warm-up routine with that environment, telling yourself, oh, I'm going to take my shoes off, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to drink a coffee or tea, and then you're basically telling your brain it is time to study. This little set of routines, these steps help kind of set your brain up to get into a focused academic mindset. With the big looming assignments like an exam or a big project at the end of the semester, it can be beneficial to start planning ahead. You have the syllabus with you. You kind of have the steps of where you're going in the class. So you can take some strategies and use them to help create a chart, even if you're not going to be sitting down at a exact period of time each week. You have a general sense of where you're going. For exams, about 2 weeks or a week before, the 5-day study plan is a great way of doing that. You're basically telling yourself, where do I need the most work on study-wise? What time, how much time do I need to allocate towards the chapter or the topic that I'm struggling with the most? And which ones do I feel the most confident in? And you're basically creating a whole structure around that. You're studying the most with the least confident chapters, and you're always coming back to that in review. So by the end of it, you've always seen every day that chapter that you're least confident in, and you're allowing yourself to feel confident about the stuff you are confident about. You're giving each time in each chapter its due. For looming 3 months away projects, reverse planning could really help. Ultimately, it's exactly as it sounds. You're taking the structure of preparing for a project, and you're doing it in the reverse. You're going big picture first. What exactly is the due date? What do I need to get done by then? You have those steps all laid out. And then you start getting into the minutia. You start getting into the details of what do I need to look up? What information is going to be valuable to me? And ultimately, both of these strategies allow you a lot of flexibility and a lot of open space to, if you have a question, go to your professor. You'll have 2 months or let's say a week before an exam with the 5-day study plan. You have that wiggle room to be like, oh, I have this question. Let me fire an email to my professor. You're not cramming at the very end of a week, and because when you cram at the end of that week, you don't have time to ask the questions. It's a frenzy. You're in a rush. So giving yourself space to mess up and not know things, and taking the right steps to ask those questions is a huge step, especially when you're creating that class structure yourself. Ultimately, if you are seeking routine and you feel like you're more routine oriented, create a routine around the asynchronous class. You can't go wrong going with that, and find ways that make that structure make sense to you. And if you don't want routine, if that's the reason why you chose an asynchronous class, that's great. Embrace that freedom, embrace that need for freedom, and just find any of these strategies that we've used and gear it towards the way you study, because that's ultimately what's going to work the best. Gearing it towards who you are as a learner, and that structure is going to come based off that self-awareness. So let us know down in the comments. Have you tried any of these strategies? Are you taking an asynchronous class, and how's that going? Maybe you've tried this for an asynchronous class. Share your experiences. But it's been a pleasure talking to you today. My name has been Anthony Mullen, and I hope to see you next time.